Sadiq Conlon, and he's the man leading the charge for Australia to become an Islamic state. So what does he think of non-believers who criticise his plans?
Aussies, skippies, retards, cowards, ferals, Westies and the bogans.
Last week, the cleric demanded we pay him $5,000 for any interview, but now he's dropped the fee. He agreed to meet us, and after a quick pre-chat prayer, he's come out swinging.
So in your books, every Muslim then should support Al-Qaeda?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
How can you endorse a terrorist organisation?
Who's calling them a terrorist organisation? Who's a terrorist?
They're not terrorists.
Well, let's go and look at that. Was George Bush a terrorist? Are the American soldiers in Afghanistan terrorists?
It's pretty much impossible to reason with this man. But when we discuss our country's involvement in Afghanistan, well, his comments would leave most Australians speechless.
So if you see an Australian soldier killed in Afghanistan, you're happy?
Any Australian soldier who trains, who hates Muslims, who gets on a plane, who invades another country, a Muslim country, deserves the worst of treatments. Now that's the treatment under Sharia, and that's my personal opinion as well. If you don't want to go get hurt, don't go there. Stay out of the Muslim lands. That's a simple opinion.
So you're happy for Australian soldiers to be killed over there?
If they're going over there to fight the Muslims, undoubtedly. And they're not going over there to make cakes. They're going over there to kill Muslims, right? So what do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to love them? Never.
Believe it or not, these are the words of a man who was raised a Christian right here in Australia. He was born Shannon Conlon, but a decade ago he decided to convert to Islam. Now he drives around New South Wales trying to convert anyone that will listen. His hope is that Australia will one day live under Islamic law.
If we go to a hypothetical,
Yes.
Australia's an Islamic nation. Last night I had 2 beers with dinner.
Okay.
What does that mean?
If you're a non-Muslim, then essentially you wouldn't be able to go to a restaurant and have your beer because it can only be done in the privacy of your home. You can do what you want within the privacy of your home, but you can't spread that evil on the streets. And yes, alcohol is evil.
Could I go to the nightclub afterwards?
I think you know just as much as I do. You can't do that, mate. Under Islamic State, we're removing those things. We're removing the nightclubs. We're removing the hotels. We're removing all those disgusting things.
If you want to live in a Muslim nation, why don't you go live in one?
That's an excellent question. Now, I say to you, why do I have to? I'm an Aussie, white-skinned, freckle-faced Aussie. Why should I go to Afghanistan when I want Islam for Australia? When I want to take you guys, the people, to heaven?
We cannot, as Muslims, ever deny, hate, speak bad about. That person will be killed.
The Sharia law he wants us to follow also supports cutting off people's hands and polygamy.
What's wrong with democracy?
There we go. Obviously, we say what's right with democracy. It's the fact that you guys have to prove your case first because our system was here before your system. Yes, our system was here in the world.
But the Australian democracy was here before Islam.
Well, actually, that's not true. And far before Captain Cook in 1770 landed in Botany Bay, far before Captain Arthur Phillip landed in Sydney Cove, Islam was here in Australia. So, that's the fact.
So from your perspective, this is an Islamic country?
Well, I say Islam was here first. One day it will be an Islamic country. It will be ruled by Islam, whether you guys like it or not. That's inevitable.
The married father from Sydney's West has also spoken on a number of occasions in support of Osama bin Laden.
The SEALs shouted for bin Laden to surrender. He resisted.
And despite all the news reports, he believes the terror leader is still alive. But he says recent events will only strengthen hatred of the West in Islamic nations.
That little man with an American army suit and a sniper rifle who thought he was a big tough man has actually put himself in hellfire and put Osama in paradise.
If that gunman is going to hell,
God willing.
I'm not a Muslim. What happens when I die?
If you continue down your path, you are eligible for the hellfire. That's all I can say. If you die as a non-Muslim, you're eligible for the hellfire.
No rational Australian could ever support what Ibrahim Sadiq Conlon preaches, and certainly Lakemba Mosque has already told him he's not welcome to pray here, and they've distanced themselves from his teachings. But the worrying thing is that the cleric claims he is continuing to gather followers at the grassroots level of the Muslim community.
I'm growing Islam out of Australia now. This is a homegrown Islam, an Australian Islam.
We also want this country to become a Muslim country.
And look at the rise of Islam in Australia. You know, look at it. Since the last 45 years, Islam has spiked.
Well, he's stark raving mad, obviously.
The switchboard lit up for radio announcer Ray Hadley when he played some of our quotes from Sadiq Conlon on his show this morning.
If I'm a moderate Muslim and he's telling me this sort of rubbish, we totally don't agree with him.
He hopes ASIO and the federal police are watching extremists closely.
I'm sure that there would be a very small percentage of the community that would be inspired. I mean, radicals do attract attention by their very nature, but hopefully the most important purpose he serves through the presentation tonight is to illustrate to people that he's in the vast minority, that this sort of view is held not by widespread members of the Muslim community but by lunatics on the fringe, and he's certainly a lunatic, he's certainly on the fringe.
Ibrahim Sadiq Conlon hates democracy, yet ironically it's democracy that allows him to voice these extreme views.
We're praying to God. We've got our heads on the grounds, purifying ourselves, waiting for the moment where our awakening, Islam, takes over the world, when we have the power once again, like we had several hundred years ago, where we ruled the world. So be careful, look out. We're on the way.
And we should reiterate that we have already had